Lovely. Okay, do I go first? Is this it? Okay. I was in a position where I was waiting for my daughter to die so that I wouldn't die. These are the words of Amanda Zarowski, who was denied an abortion after being diagnosed with cervical inefficiency. Amanda entered septic shock. She spent weeks in an intensive care unit, and it all ended with a painful 10-hour miscarriage. I wish I could tell you this was a one-off situation. I wish I could tell you this didn't happen to women around the globe. I wish I could tell you that we live in a world that prioritizes female well-being. We don't. Globally, 24 countries ban and/or restrict abortions. In El Salvador, a woman was sentenced to 30 years in prison after miscarrying a pregnancy she had been denied an abortion for. Today, the proposition's argument focuses predominantly on the United States, which serves as a hypocenter for the abortion debate, with Roe v. Wade being declared by the UN the most influential piece of abortion legislation. When it comes to abortion law, there seems to be an overriding view that the law is natural or scientific rather than political, man-made, and arbitrary. This makes it easy to adopt a moral superiority. But we must remember that bodily autonomy should not come with ifs and buts. No woman aborts an 8-month pregnancy just for kicks. Abortions are a measure sought by those who desperately need them.
Can I go? Okay. This evening and/or afternoon for the audience, the opposition moves against the House's belief that abortion is a fundamental human right. Abortion, when applied clinically and correctly, has major benefits in terms of reducing the rate of unattended and harmful pregnancies, and is undeniably inherently necessary to remain an option in medical facilities and clinics worldwide. However, the belief that such a medical procedure is a fundamental human right is wholly inaccurate. In parts of the world where abortion is illegal, homemade attempts cause about 8 to 11% of all maternal deaths, around 30,000 each year. The opposition agrees that these numbers would decline rapidly if abortion was fully legalized worldwide, but naming it as a fundamental human right won't change the minds of countries that have historically been and continue to be set against abortion. Such a label is not enough to bring about change. Involvement of the world's superpowers in moving towards more positive sex education, for example, becomes key. In addition, the opposition will further argue that whilst abortion should be accessible, it should not be the first point of contact between women or individuals with wombs, I don't want to offend anyone, and the support of medical professionals. The entire system surrounding pregnancy needs an overhaul, from the stigmas surrounding out-of-marriage pregnancies to the miseducation surrounding forms of contraception. By prioritizing these alternatives, the need for abortion can significantly be reduced and thus should be our first step towards change. Thank you.
The arguments for abortion's status as a fundamental human right are varied and obvious. Elements of choice, freedom, mental and physical health come to mind. However, the proposition would like to highlight a facet of the argument not previously considered, but one that underpins all others: money. It has long been the objective of social and political infrastructures to keep the working class working, living paycheck to paycheck, hardly able to put food on their tables. Of the 27 states that ban abortion, 22 have poverty rates up to 30% above the national average. Overall, states that ban abortion have the lowest literacy rates and highest poverty rates. Female participation in the workforce plummets. Fewer and fewer women pursue education. More and more women flood already underfunded clinics. Before we know it, the female population has been degraded to a subhuman status scarcely seen outside dystopian literature. Permitting abortions and subsequently dismantling the status quo means that the 1% will bleed billions. Banning abortion and the subsequent maintenance of the status quo means that women will bleed emotionally, financially, and physically. The question is, which of the two will you allow to go on? To state that abortion isn't a fundamental human right is to declare the right to education, to ambition, and to advancement obsolete. If we look at this intersectionally, These economic side effects of abortion bans affect women of color disproportionately. Women of color who already have abysmal access to contraception. Women of color who have scarcely been taught how to care for their bodies. Women of color who harbor the trauma of being raised in and raising children in communities that are often underserved and overlooked. How can we, a group of educated, ambitious young women ourselves, sit here and face the economic, educational, and professional inhibition of millions of women with such indifference? We can't. Those who are pro-life often like to boast the argument that baby you aborted could have cured cancer, could have been the next president, could have solved world hunger. But what about the mother? What about all that she could have done? Where are the voices preaching the stories of her repressed ambition, of her dreams, her hopes, her goals, all blackened by a world which adamantly refuses to see her potential?
As of last month, there are 20 countries worldwide where abortion, under any circumstance, is illegal. 88 allow an abortion to save the woman's life or to preserve health. 72 allow abortions, no questions asked, per request. Laos, Madagascar, Malta, and the Philippines are 4 of the 20 in which abortion is prohibited altogether. What links these, and indeed the other 16 most significantly, is their position as lower income and developing countries. We will focus on the Philippines in this argument due to the fact that their medical data is the most accurate and comprehensive. Over 500,000 women each year attempt DIY abortions in the Philippines. In 2008, about 1,000 women died, and over 90,000 found extremely severe complications. These numbers are shocking, and I expect the proposition, audience, and judges to agree, but the Filipino government does not. In fact, since 1870, no Filipino government, under any ruling circumstance, has agreed that abortions should be legalized in any capacity. The mass death and illness spread does not concern them, and this is a factor which is not going to change, no matter how many countries label abortions as a fundamental human right. Lower income and developing countries lack the resources and are unequipped, where health infrastructure is limited, to follow the correct course of action to legalize abortion, such as adequate safeguarding. There is a larger scope for concern as individuals, particularly those from marginalized communities, are at advanced risk of coercion and biases towards certain traits or disabilities. This direct form of manipulation exposes societies to eugenic discrimination and perpetuates inequality at an extreme level. Thus, we must acknowledge that there are severely impacting consequences of legalizing abortion in countries that lack strong regulatory frameworks, functioning healthcare systems, and robust social support structures. Thus, it is naive and irresponsible to attempt a universal blanket situation to such an individual crisis, a solution that will undoubtedly result in longer lasting and far more devastating impacts than a slower, measured approach, which accounts for the sensitivity and unique social factors. Many countries cannot even accept fundamental human rights, which have been established for decades elsewhere, including overwhelming amounts of censorship, the support of a despaired system of political prisoners, and a lack of marital protection for interracial couples. How can the proposition recommend such a solution, which does not in any sense promise positive results and will cost societies their future? Accepted.
So, okay, the opposition is essentially stating that abortion is not a fundamental human right because X, Y, and Z countries don't see it as such. Is that correct?
No, but I will hear your argument. Your question. I'll take the question.
That is the question. So no. So what will you restate what you mean?
So I'm stating that implementing the notion or the belief that the proposition is putting forward will not change the way that these countries view abortion, will not change the way that they treat abortion, or will not force them to implement this in their societies.
Okay, understood. But in that case, how do you account for the fact that a lot of these countries might not even implement the most basic of human rights, like access to clean water, access to food? Does that make them any less fundamental? Is the idea of fundamentality, that fundamental nature of whatever right it may be, is that defined strictly by which countries will and will not implement it properly?
I completely see the point that the labeling as a fundamental human right does not actually affect how fundamental an issue is. However, moving for something to be called a fundamental human right, I do not believe, the opposition does not believe, will change the impact.
Proponents of abortion bans often firmly argue that fetuses are people and that no one, not even the mother who will carry out the pregnancy, endure childbirth, and raise a child, has the right to murder this fetus. Look around. It is an unequivocal sign that our humanity has reached the epitome of its decline when fetuses are granted more rights and shown more concern than refugees, than people of color, and than members of the LGBT community. For too long have calls for banning abortion been cloaked in a sense of religiosity. The Bible says this, the Quran says that, the Torah tells us this. We cannot tolerate the abuse and manipulation of scripture to justify the breach of a fundamental human right. The matter of the fact is, there is nothing holy about denying access to life-saving healthcare. Cries of purity, morality, and devoutness pale in comparison to the cries of women everywhere. The view that abortion is murder acts as a curtain to disguise the incredible nuance of the situation, as the opposition has already mentioned. I want you to think about women carrying babies with several fetal abnormalities, pregnant women suffering from domestic abuse, from debilitating mental illness, from financial ruin, women for whom pregnancy guarantees social and familial ostracization. In considering the issue of abortion, we must consider the nature of our own ignorance. Countless governments and economic surveys have tried to understand why women opt for abortions, but the cold, hard truth is that you do not and will never fully understand a person's reasoning for getting an abortion. You will never understand the consequences they may face if they don't get one. To ban abortion on the premise that it is murderous, carried out recklessly, is the height of hubris. We will never know why someone may opt for an abortion. The one thing we do know for certain...
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm glad you guys called me out.
Sorry. Before our next argument, the opposition wishes to acknowledge that religion should not play a part in the discussion as to whether abortion should be legalized globally. We agree that this decision should be separate from religion, and that religious bodies who wish to not abort will be able to make this decision on their own. Arguments which stand wholly against abortion in any situation are incomprehensible and invalid. The opposition does not argue in support of this idea. Instead, we enforce the notion that a comprehensive take is key. In many countries where abortions are legal per request, one may expect a simple, accessible system by which women can safely access abortion, but this is not so. As all present here today are Gen Z and have eager access to apps with such knowledge, such as TikTok, I assume many of you will be aware of the recent rise of aggressive pro-life activists who berate and psychologically attack individuals who try to enter into institutes that administer abortions, such as Planned Parenthood in the USA. These people find lawful loopholes in which they can continue to harass grieving or uncertain women who wish to abort. In the same vein, the medical stigmas within institutions surrounding individuals who are pregnant but unmarried, of low income, underage, and of those who gender themselves in a way other than women is rife. Take India. Acts of 1971 and 2003 have ensured that abortion is legalized under various comprehensive circumstances in safe environments, but the social side effects are not mitigated by such laws. Billy Lowen, in her 2016 publication, How in India, abortion and unwed motherhood is heavily stigmatized, and indeed most women have little autonomy over their pregnancies, even where abortion is a viable option, facing discrimination from employers, educational facilities, family, and their communities. Many Indians who fall pregnant instead decide to carry to term, even when the birth is medically likely to fail or cause harmful complications. This then has a knock-on effect in a rise of children given up to the foster system, as well as higher rates of children who grow up in households where their primary caregivers are unable to support them in a satisfactory manner. This situation is not exclusive to India. The majority of collectivist cultures share similar attributes. Clearly, the legalization of abortion is not such a universal be-all and end-all as it appears to be. Instead, it is likely that such cases could more effectively and positively be impacted by the implementation of more comprehensive drives for education surrounding contraceptives and family planning. Thank you.
Do you guys have judge questions for us? It's okay if not, but if you guys do, then go ahead.
Can we go in a break room? Because I want to discuss one.
Oh, absolutely. I'll pull CJ and I into a different room. Just give me 1 second. Add breakout room.
Will the
CJ.
camera still be on in the breakout room? Should I still keep my camera off?
Yes, because it records, the recording is not us, it's like of this room. So I would advise doing so. I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
CJ, I'm kicking you out. Okay. Bye-bye, you guys.
I have like one question I was thinking. I was like, is like the fetus a part of the mother or a separate being? That's one of the questions I was thinking.
That's really good.
For days, I was thinking that, like, you know how in this argument she talked about how for example, people in India and all that stuff, and the things they have to face, even though abortion is legal, that the social difficulties that they have to face, because it's heavily stigmatized. But how does that relate to making abortion a fundamental right? Like, like not making abortion a fundamental right help with those issues? And if yes, how? Do you think that's a good one, or did she answer?
Yeah,
Ready?
definitely a good one.
I love
I
that.
was also thinking about
Yeah.
the way Jenin was saying how making it a fundamental right would like help break down stigmas. I was also thinking about how almost like third world countries were sort of behind. They would account for cost. It's like about poverty. So how would she account for the cost of giving free abortions?
Exactly.
Fundamental
Yeah.
human right.
This will really put CJ on the spot, but she was
Yeah.
kept talking about how like making it she doesn't agree with making it illegal, but she says that making it a fundamental human right won't change anything, and we need to take like a more individualized approach. Like, what approach would she suggest would be better than making it a human right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good one. Do you want to do that for CJ then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for Janine, sorry.
The question you asked just now, I think that's a good one.
About poverty and like about...
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the one about the fetus? Is it separate or is it?
I don't mind if we can do it if you want, but I don't mind.
Would that be for like CJ or Janine though?
I feel like it would be more for either both or even CJ. I don't know.
How do we tell him to come back in?
Should we just message the chat?
Yeah, someone messaged them. So we'll ask CJ what implements she would like and Janine about the poverty.
That'll work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Hi, guys. Okay, do you have judge questions? I'm really scared.
Heidi, do you want to go first? Or Julia? I don't know which one of you's which, sorry.
I had that too, sorry.
We've got a question for Janine. And you said that like making an abortion a fundamental human right would break down stigma surrounding abortion, and obviously that can't be denied. That is definitely true. But I was wondering how you would account for breaking down stigmas in maybe third world countries that are behind, and also cost of making it a fundamental human right. How would you account for helping low income countries be able to afford giving out free abortions?
Well, I think that's an excellent question because certainly third world countries are at a different developmental stage. But I think in that instance, it's honestly an effort of international collaboration, right? Because at the end of the day, something that I'm going to touch on in my closing is that when we think about cost, right? US groups give $280 million yearly to, and I want to get the term for this right because it's such a heinous term, to what are they called? To crisis pregnancy centers in the UK, which misinform about pregnancies, essentially trying to misinform about abortions and try and dissuade people from getting them. They receive $280 million yearly from groups in the US. So think about that cross-continental transfer of money. Think about, okay, what if those groups then decided to instead allocate that money, because God knows they have it, to instead allocate that money to doing drives in developing countries, to empowering women via drives with UN Women, UNHCR, to get enable accessible abortion. So I think the money is there. It just needs to be redistributed. But I think I want to link to the opposition's point. There is definitely a push for education needed there because not even just abortion is stigmatized. The idea of being pregnant, the idea of premarital sex is stigmatized. So I'm in complete agreement with the opposition in that there is going to be a huge push for education. And in terms of cost, a lot of that cost is going to be allocated there first and foremost before we implement some of the more tangible measures of actual medical care.
Yeah.
And I had one for CJ. So you were talking about how you don't think making abortion a fundamental human right would help with like the stigma around abortion and women getting pregnant, and you mentioned India. So what kind of implementation would you put in place? Just like you said, a more comprehensive approach. What kind of implementation would you want to put in place, do you think, could be better than making abortion a fundamental human right?
Sure. So the Indian government has allowed abortion. They've set out, their criteria for when it is acceptable, when it's unacceptable, etc. They've put a lot of effort into that from 1997 when they first implemented it to today. They're still amending that kind of original document that they had, that original whatever. They're allocating a lot of resources to this. Those resources could be, in our opinion, spent better elsewhere, where we're not seeing a lot of people in India go for abortions. A large proportion of the Indian population who is pregnant, who doesn't want to be pregnant or is pregnant by accident, are not going to these facilities and getting the abortions that are, even when they're a very low cost or even when they're free. So the money that is being spent on allowing all of these abortion clinics to be opened that are not getting used could much better be implemented into educational facilities, or even not facilities, but having a governmental or non-governmental body who is going to kind of go around to schools, to educational facilities, even to universities, to higher education, to bring better sex education. I know that's kind of like a very generic term, but even if we're talking about solely contraceptives or family planning, if contraceptives are an issue, an NGO or a body who would be there to administer that education is very important. And there are definitely the funds available for that to be implemented. For India specifically, because that was, yeah.
Okay, what do we think, guys? Closing statements? Are the judges ready? Do I have the judges' permission to proceed?
Definitely, those were really good answers.
Okay. The overturning of Roe v. Wade has caused waves internationally. The UK has seen the rise of crisis pregnancy centers who offer women medically inaccurate advice to dissuade them from getting an abortion. These centers have quickly spread to other parts of Europe, and they receive up to $280 million worth of funding from US groups. The fight for legal, safe, and accessible abortions is a global one. Denying women the right to abortion will only increase the rate of unsafe abortions. The UN estimates that in Honduras alone, between 50,000 and 80,000 unsafe abortions take place every single year. Take a look around. With global recessions eating away at the wages of working people, streets rife with injustice, social and healthcare infrastructures crumbling under the greed of governments, and prejudice against women being perpetrated by figures like Andrew Tate, it is no wonder that some women may choose not to bring a child into this world. There is no question about whether abortion is a fundamental human right, and there never was. The true question before us today is, why are we so eager to deny women such an imperative service? Thank you.
The opposition, in summary, opposes the House's belief that abortion is a fundamental human right, under the knowledge that such a label does not greatly affect any actual global change towards a more safe world of abortion and pregnancy processes. The key to ensuring an actively progressive and safer future for those who wish to become and those who wish to avoid pregnancy is not found in striving for unnecessary and ineffectual labeling, but instead active movements made by governmental and non-governmental bodies. Instead, the opposition argues that the implementation of practices such as comprehensive sex education, access to viable contraceptives, and the sharing of such resources to countries with lower rates of sexual education are vital towards such a journey. Both the proposition and opposition are here today to strive for progress in the direction of a more civilized future where we can be proud to call ourselves the human race. However, the means of achieving this, as put forth by the proposition, are vague and ultimately fail to actively achieve this goal. We must turn to empathy, embrace dialogue, individuality, uniqueness, and take evidence-based approaches to tackle the issues of reproductive rights and secure a safe future for all, not by assuming the correct approach and endangering our values of equality and compassion, but by acknowledging these intricate factors, respecting them, and utilizing them. The opposition is not here to fight progress, ladies. It is here to ensure it is conducted in a manner which will succeed. Thank you.
Woo! Did the judges need a moment to deliberate?
Yes, please.
Yeah? Okay. CJ, I'm kicking you back into the breakout room. Bye-bye. Again, just drop us a message when you're ready for us to rejoin, and we will.
So, what do we think?
I feel like there could have been more POIs. I don't know if that's me personally, but I feel like both of them are usually so good at rebuttals, and I just didn't see much of that. I think Jenin did one, but I think there could have been way more. Like, there were so many points where they could have done a lot of rebuttals, and they could have I think that would have made the debate more fun. But
yeah.
I
liked how Jenin had it more direct, so she emphasized things to make us really thought that was good.
Like CJ's one where we asked her the question, her answer was amazing. Like I feel like she could have expressed that point if she'd expressed it in such a way where it was more emphasized and more clear to us. Maybe we wouldn't have asked that question in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because her research was so well done. Like, I loved CJ's research, and I loved the approach that she took. She didn't take the stereotypical, the same approach that everybody takes. It was very well researched and very well thought out, and all of the points were kind of unique. Yeah.
I like how she didn't the religious, pro-life, because that would have been the easy thing to go for, really, and she didn't.
Yeah.
But we have to pick someone to win. Well, I feel like the fact that CJ had opposition, she brought us some very good points, because no one was the opposition.
Because I personally feel like, okay, Jenin's I think one of her strongest point in debate is that she's really good at putting across a point and in a very expressive manner. But I feel like when it comes to her actual content, it was very I've heard it before, if that makes sense, like it wasn't. I feel like the points could have been a little more unique in terms of taking that approach, especially because she had an upper hand on this topic. Like, it was, at least I think so, in my opinion. It was, I think, especially finding arguments for against was a little bit for proposition, I think it was a little bit more easier, especially. So I feel like CJ's, in terms of uniqueness and individuality, I feel like CJ's was better. But what do you guys think?
I think Janine could have done a lot better with what she had. Like she's a very passionate speaker, and I think if we were judging it solely on how they spoke, it would be Janine, no question, because you can tell she really actually believes in what she's been given. But I feel like she could have come up with more creative points. They were good points, but they were points that I've heard before. Otherwise, with CJ, it was very different, and it was very. I wouldn't say convincing because I'm never going to believe that, but I would say it was the best she could do with what she had.
Exactly. Like it wasn't convincing in a way where we suddenly became pro-lifers, but it was convincing in a way where all the points that she was making, we sort of saw it through her lenses, you know? We didn't completely go like, okay, I'm not gonna listen to you and this stuff is irritating me, and like I completely disagree with what you're saying. The points that she was making, it was kind of in such a way that we could kind of see through the lenses, I guess, as I said, that she was saying. So what do we think, guys? Who's the winner? Should we just vote, or
I feel like CJ.
I think we
CJ,
could all agree CJ was brilliant.
CJ?
Yeah, I think CJ.
The fact that she said that she wasn't against progress, I think that was a good point.
Yeah, I think the fact that she didn't disagree, like she didn't disagree with abortions, is what drove her argument.
Yeah,
it's just that taking a different approach.
Yes.
She managed to relate with us and get her point across in like a really good balance, which I think is
exactly. Okay, should we message them? Can someone message them?
Who wants to say?
Okay, we can say the good points about each of them.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see how it goes. I think one of us will just break the ice.
Hi, guys.
Hi. We have a winner for you guys. It's not a tie.
Thank God. CJ was
Sakina! Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Sakina's been here.
Sakina's. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. Both of you were so good, and I think you guys are going to be happy with the result. I think.
Hold on. Janine's frozen. I'm sorry. Let's just wait for her to.
But it's your smiling face. Yeah.
Janine.
It's kind of funny.
Oh my goodness. This is embarrassing. I need to buy her better
she's
Wi-Fi.
laughing.
Yeah. Okay. Let.
I really want to screenshot it, but that would be really mean.
You should. I give you permission. 100% permission. It's her bad for having terrible Wi-Fi.
Sorry. Hi, I'm back. I don't know what happened. Judges, please do not hold this against me in the judging process. I usually have really.
It was a really flattering screenshot that we all took, so it's okay.
No. Okay, go on. Emotional support water bottle. Sorry, go on. Don't tell me I'm frozen again.
Okay, both of you were amazing. Like, we really, for Janine, we really enjoyed the way you spoke. You're such a passionate speaker, and for all your debates, it's you put across your points in such a manner that it's really clear. For CJ, your points were just so unique, and we loved the approach you took and how all of your points differed, and the way you put across your points. Even though some people here disagree with the whole notion, we still could see through the lenses through which you were kind of putting across your point. So they were really unique and your research was very well done. And I won't say who won. I think somebody else should. Okay.
You cannot leave us like that. I'm not going to say who won, but okay.
Okay, who's going to say? Does anyone want to?
Guys, don't make
Okay.
me call on somebody.
We
we like
just think.
3, 2,
Yeah.
1, and then we all say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is
3,
that
2,
really
1.
crazy? 3, 2, 1.
CJ.
I had a feeling. My poor sister.
Okay, I think the only reason for that is because Jenin, I just feel like because you like your points, I feel like they were so good, but it was what everybody here said, that like it was stuff that we sort of have heard before, like if that makes sense.
No, that's valid.
I feel like you could have taken a more unique approach, or maybe more POIs, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
No, CJ's
To
was
be
like
fair, I didn't ask any POIs because Janine got cut off that one point.
that was
And
what
I
you
was
were-
like, writing
Yeah,
down the
that
POI.
one was for both of you. Like I feel like both of you could have done POIs. I think the only one
I was
was
scared
asked-
because you didn't do any, and I was like, if I do something, is that going to be a declaration of war? Like, you know? No, but I completely
Yeah.
agree. CJ's was like, because I was like in my head, I was thinking, I know CJ, she's not going to go all out like we hate abortion, we don't want abortion at all. Like it's just not her. She's not going to argue that. So I was like, what nuanced thing is she going to come at me with? And yeah.
But honestly, can I say one thing? I love the rhetorical questions that Janine gave. I love them.
Thank
Also,
you.
Janine, the way I love when every time you do this, it's just amazing. And I think it's just pure talent
You
and
don't
skill.
have to hype me up because I'm the loser. It's
No.
okay.
I was thinking this throughout the debate. Like, you know, when you asked CJ the POI, and then CJ said her answer, and then you kind of turned it around, and you were like, okay, but like the fundamental right, blah 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 thing. I love
when you emotionally attack people. It's so great. You keep doing
No, the way you kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but you just think so fast, and your rebuttals are really, really good.
Thank you, Sakina. CJ, this means you get to pick next week's motion. How excited are you?
I'm gonna come up with an equally as harsh one as all of you guys did, because that was
I had nothing to do with it.
that's true.
I joined
Ryan's
yesterday.
only one, the exception. Everyone else. But I feel like we haven't discussed this, but how are we going to do teams for next week?
Oh, good question, because you know how many stars.
Oh wait, no, we did that already.
You
Sorry,
guys
I'm
can
so
pick.
sorry.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah,
no,
You guys
right.
Sorry,
I
ignore me.
forgot. Yeah, ignore me also. Yeah, there was actually a really decisive picking process. I'm surprised we didn't remember. I picked Julia and Nyla in all caps. And Izza, I'm shocked. Personally, I would have picked Izza. But Heidi's not even here. I can't even rip on Heidi. Heidi, if you're watching this, you made a mistake.
Janine.
What?
Heidi is here.
Oh, Heidi. You guys are one person in my brain, so I always just process it as Julia, because Julia. I'm good. I'm fine. Guys, we've been sick this week, so this is why we're a little bit loopy. Promise we're not always like this.
I assume no one read the future and picked me, so which team will I go in?
It's claiming you. She's
Okay.
She's
Yes.
just so you get to be on the good team. Heidi, now that I know you're here. I'm kidding. It's been a week, you guys. It's been a week. That's why you haven't gotten your feedback for the last debate. I'm really sorry. I've been sick with like strep throat this week. It's been gross. It's been a lot of like phlegm, and it's just not fun. So
We don't. Thank you. I'm sure they love that. Please don't feel inclined to stick around, guys. You can go at any point.
yeah, please. My mouth runs like a motor. So have a lovely day, night, weekend, evening. I'll make the channels now. CJ will have her time to figure out the motion. But can I assign just random prop up for whatever the motion is going to be? Okay. I don't know the motion, but I'm just going to chuck you guys into channels now so you can get started. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Get well soon.
Yeah, go
Thank
on.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.